Good. Thanks for coming to this session. Today we will be discussing metabolic health, so the importance of gut microbiota and metabolic health. So microbiome is the collection of genes that make up the microbiota diversity. All right, so this is the collection of genes that are functional. Metabolism, meaning that the synthesis of compounds that we need, the sort of breaking down of compounds that we don't need, or maybe compounds that we would require the metabolites of. Okay, so something that is broken down so that we produce other compounds that are required in our metabolic health. So metabolism is all this together. Okay, and is estimated from an array of various measures related to function, body function, okay, such as liver function, intestinal function, fat, muscle, heart function, and also brain tissues. Okay? And that represent an epidemiological situation, sort of, which is linked with the desired quality of life and longevity. Now, first of all, we talk about basal metabolic rate. Basal metabolic rate is the metabolism that is vital, meaning the energy that we require to actually live throughout the day. So we're talking about vital functions such as the heart, sort of pumping or the blood and circulation, liver function, muscles, and any other vital function, which include the gut function itself. Okay? So that's called the basal metabolic rate. Now, I decided to put it all together in one slide. Might be very busy, but this is the relationship between metabolic health and what we actually intake in terms of food. And this shows the importance of the diversity of bacteria that we need in the gut. You can see various different bacteria there that have and metabolize different kinds of food ingredients and produce very specific compounds. But in addition to any of all these functions, also to keep the gut lining integrity in place. And you can see here that all these different types of metabolites have different functions. And also the outcomes would be, for instance, you can see satiety, you can see energy harvest, you can see storage of fat, adipose inflammation, the role of these metabolites in actual inflammation of the liver. The liver is producing particular products that are harmful in terms of atherosclerosis. So we have to have a right balance here. And what we will really look into today is also the metabolites that are related to insulin resistance, glucose intolerance, okay, and satiety, for instance, and also inflammation. So all these metabolites, okay, are required and are produced by these friends that we have in these comments and bacteria that we have in our gut lining. In terms of human metabolic genes, we have around 1,000 to 2,000 genes, which are involved in metabolism. Whilst if we look at the microbial diversity and repertoire of genes, so the microbiome, those that are related to metabolism, we have more than 3.3 million genes related to metabolism in our large intestine. Therefore, microbial genes outnumber human metabolic genes by over 1,000-fold. Then now you start understanding how important the balance in this microbiota is in terms of providing the metabolic genes that are required to produce these healthy metabolites. Human metabolic genes are very limited. They can digest simple sugars. And microbial genes can break down and ferment complex carbohydrates in terms of the requirements for energy harvesting. In terms of nutrient synthesis, human genes are limited in the number of vitamins that can synthesize. Microbial genes have an extensive metabolic repertoire to produce vitamins and amino acids. So yes, there is an impact on health if we don't have this repertoire of metabolic genes coming from the microbial counterpart. Okay, and of course we have seen that it will enhance digestion and absorption of specific nutrients through the metabolism itself. It produces a lot of bioactive compounds, modulates immune responses and inflammation. Health implications, yes. Dysbiosis, which is a disbalance basically in these microbial diversity and abundances, is linked to metabolic disorders. Okay? So yes, a balanced microbiota is crucial for metabolic health. So in terms of human metabolism, functions, enzyme production for basic metabolism, right? Energy production, for instance, through glycolysis, Krebs cycle, production of hormones such as insulin, glucagon, and basic nutrient processing. On the other hand, microbial metabolic genes, we have over 9,000 genes for carbohydrate degradation. They produce health-promoting substances such as short-chain fatty acids and are involved in sort of in fermentation of these polysaccharides to produce the short-chain fatty acids, which we call SCFA. Acetate, propionate, and butyrate are examples. There is lipopolysaccharide synthesis, which has an implication in immune responses, and as we said, vitamin and amino acid biosynthesis. So short-chain fatty acids produced by specific families of bacteria, the Firmicutes and the Bacteroidetes, and they produce butyrate, propionate, acetate. Their function is to stimulate two very important mediators. One is called GLP-1, glucagon-like peptide 1, and PYY. What is the function of these two? So GLP-1 enhances insulin biosynthesis. So there is a direct connection between the production of SCFAs and actually enhancing insulin biosynthesis. They also inhibit glucagon-induced production of glucose in the liver and also delay gastric emptying. So there's a lot of functions related to these butyrate, which is a short-chain fatty acid. In addition, it also includes the stimulation of PYY, which promotes satiety via brain signaling. There are other compounds that are produced. Acetate, for instance, increase fat storage by inducing specific compounds like renin. Yeah, so we have inflammatory compounds produced as well, like lipopolysaccharides. There's a conversion of bile acids from primary to secondary conversion. Promotion, as we said, bile acids also, the secondary bile acids promote GLP-1 as well, and also adipose tissue thermogenesis. There are also other compounds that are produced, like TMA, trimethylamine, which results in the production of TMAO, contributing to atherosclerosis. And this is all about as well the balance of the fuel, the food that we take, because these are actually produced by specific ingredients in our diets. So the balance of the diet is also extremely important. Then there are very specific bacteria that produce specific compounds like Akkermansia muciniphila, and produces this particular peptide that is extremely important for the gut lining barrier. So this is a key bacterium in terms of having the right abundance so that we keep the gut lining integrity in place, meaning a tight cell-cell connection in the gut lining. Regulation of estrogen is also is through the metabolism of specific bacteria in the intestines. There are various studies. Okay? This shows a graph of the difference between premenopause, transition phase, and postmenopause. We know about the distribution of estrogen and other hormones, but today there are a lot of studies which show that there is also a transition towards a different diversity. And also the diversity, and a lot of studies looking at the diversity in terms of endometriosis, which and it is very, very well known today that there is a bacterial overgrowth of this particular estrobolome, leading to higher estrogen levels in such individuals. Okay, so various other studies in terms of the diversity and abundance of these bacteria and the metabolic function in terms of the microbiome, which is present in a specific individual. So what we are after? We're after a balance. We're after a balance so that we make sure that the gut lining integrity is in place. We can resolve chronic inflammation. We can regulate immune cells and also have hormonal regulation in place. And this is done through microbiota diversity and abundance. And different bacteria having different functions, making different conversions, and all this together is the metabolic strength of our microbiome. Supporting gut lining integrity, so epithelium as a barrier needs to be in place. The immune cells, 70% of the immune cells in the body are in what we call the gut-associated lymphoid tissue. Chronic inflammation is extremely important, hormonal balance. And now today we also included glucose homeostasis and insulin regulation. Diet has an effect on dysbiosis, so it's important to have a varied diet because it will drive a different metabolism. Okay, so a specific diet, which is mainly westernized diet, drives a total different metabolism, which would result in inflammation, high glucose, insulin resistance, and these are actually showing the type of metabolites that are disrupted because of an imbalance in the microbiome. Okay? So metabolic health is only one problem associated with dysbiosis. We can see here various others that are involved, like inflammatory disease. We today mainly looked at like insulin resistance, so diabetes, obesity, but there are other diseases associated with gut dysbiosis. The importance of bacterial metabolites: when there is dysbiosis, these will change and disrupt all these functions that are present here, including inflammation of the liver, production of adipose and fat deposits, insulin resistance, insulin regulation, glucagon regulation, and this is all through intestinal compounds that are metabolites associated with the microbiome.